Welcome. Today's webinar is on different ways you can package learning in Totara Learn. This is an important topic that I get a lot of questions on, so I think this will be useful to you. My name is Dr. Tammy Frame. I'm the Chief Education Officer at eClass for Learning. This is my contact information. If you were unable to join us today live and didn't get to ask some questions that you had, feel free to email those to me and I can help you with that too. eClass for Learning is a full solution e-learning provider. So that means we can be your one-stop shop to help you with a variety of things that you might need for e-learning. Maybe it's that you need a learning management system, and Totara Learn is one that we support. Maybe you need help with developing your courses. We have instructional designers that make courses. Maybe you need help with onboarding and support. We do an excellent job of that and can help you with that. If you need help with advanced reporting and analytics and getting that information that you need out of your LMS, we can help with that. We have e-commerce options. We can host your LMS. We do systems integration, and we can build customizations for the LMS as well. So there's a lot of things that we can help our clients with. Today we're using Zoom for our webinar platform. For those of you that joined in person, please feel free to put in questions throughout the webinar. I like those, and it makes the webinar a lot more fun and a lot more interesting and useful, I think, to participants. So please feel free to do that. And with that, I want to get started with kind of what I call a cheat sheet that will help maybe give the 3,000-foot view of what we're going to talk about today. So a lot of times people want to do different things with Totara, and they're not quite sure what option they could use. So I want to kind of go through some common options, what they are, and the terms so that you know what the terms mean. And then I'll go through and demo each of these too and kind of revisit them and take a deeper dive. So at the very basic level, you can make a course. And I'll demo this a little bit. And a course is a unit of learning. It can contain topics. And it may contain seminars, which we'll learn in a minute, which are face-to-face events, if it's a hybrid or a blended course. Okay, and these are common terms that I'll be talking about through the webinar, so it's good that we kind of have the same terminology as we go forward. So then a seminar is a live face-to-face event. It allows you to register for the event. It has event management notifications. You can have the instructor track attendance of who came. And a seminar can be part of a standalone course, or it can be part of a blended course that has both face-to-face and online content in it, and it's required. So we'll go through how to set one of those up. A program is probably the one that I use the most. And a program can be a grouping of learning, different learning objects. Maybe it contains courses, competencies, things like that. It can be designated that certain things have to be completed in a certain order. And then the next one is a reoccurring course. And reoccurring courses, if you want to set them up, have to be part of a program. It's when they reoccur at a set time frame for an entire group. It is a feature of the program management. Okay. Certifications are very, very useful. A learning requirement that has to be met you might have. And often maybe it has time restrictions or it expires after a certain amount of time, and they're tracked by the individual learner. and maybe people start and stop those at their own pace. Now, a learning plan can include competencies, courses, programs, and objectives. And they're created for individuals. That's maybe my biggest mistake that I see people make. They want to make a learning plan and assign the learning plan to a group of people. That's not exactly how it works. You can create a site-wide template or a workflow. So you could say that for this template of a learning plan, managers must sign off on it. But the courses and the competencies are assigned at an individual level. And if you wanted to set learning for a whole group of people and set it out, then I think the program is a better option for you. So this cheat sheet might be really helpful. I'll send it out when along with the webinar follow-up. It might be helpful to refer to when you're deciding how to package up your courses or your content, because you might have different needs. And sometimes maybe a certification or a program or a reoccurring course or just a plain course, determining which one of these is best for you. This might help you a little bit. And then we'll go through how to make each of these a little bit. Okay, again, here's my contact information if you need it. And now I'm going to go to my live Totara site, and we'll start making these things. Okay, and let me just going to pull this up over here so I make sure that we cover all of them. All right, so let's start with a very simple course. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I always appreciate that. Okay, so to make a course, you go to the site admin, and let me get here too. Here's my site admin heading down here. And you go to courses. And you'll notice that a lot of things are related to courses and are underneath courses that you might need later on. So things like the programs and the certifications are hidden under there. So we're going to go to Manage Courses and Categories. And what that means is you can have different categories that you house, and organize your courses under. So right now I have 3 categories here. You can have as many as you want, and you can have as many subcategories as you want. And that just helps with navigation and finding things. So when you want to make either a course or a category for a course, you click on that Manage Courses and Categories under Courses in the site admin. So on this side are the categories, and if for some reason I wanted to create a new category, I could do that. Let's do that quick. So we'll call this one at the top level, we'll call this test category. Maybe later I'll delete it. If I wanted to give it an ID number, I could. If I wanted to give it a description, I could. Notice that this one has an asterisk, so that has to be, something has to be in that field. Anything with a red asterisk is required. The other things are optional. So seeing that these 2 are optional, I think I will just ignore them and create my test category. Now, if I want to create a new course in that category, I go to the right side and I can name this. So I'll call this test course. And you have to have a full name and a short name. Whatever is in the short name is what is going to have to be in, if you're importing, let's say, legacy data or something, and you're using a bulk upload, this is the field that it's going to match on. So that's the important one to make sure that it matches. I can choose what category, and then I can choose what type of course. So if this is going to be solely an e-learning course, I leave it on e-learning. If it's going to be a blended course, that means both face-to-face and online, blended. And if it's just going to be a face-to-face seminar, I can pick that. The reason that matters here is then in the Find Learning course catalog, I can filter by these things. So if I was only interested in face-to-face events, I could do that. If I was only interested in e-learning courses, I could do that too. So I can have a start date, I can have an end date, I can have an ID number if I wanted. If I have any summary files like a brochure to upload, I can do that. Let's expand these because there's some interesting options that we have here. Okay, I usually don't like the weekly format, even though that's the default. I don't like that one because it puts times, like dates, and I tend to teach more topical online courses. So I'm going to do that. Notice that there's a single activity format. That might be nice for people that do compliance courses and it only has one SCORM package. So that might be good too. You can say how many sections or topics there are going to be in it. I'm just going to put one. Okay, the course layout is interesting. If you have a very short course like mine, it doesn't matter. But if I had a very long course, maybe it went over 9 weeks, and it had many sections, I could show one section per page. And then it would be less overwhelming and I would less scrolling. So because I only have one, I'll do show all sections, one page. I could force the language for everybody. Here I get to say how many announcements will be posted before you have to click the More button. If I want the students to see the grade book, if I want them to see their activity reports. It's not going to be that kind of a course. I can set the maximum uploads limit for files. If you need more than what's listed here, you need to talk to your site administrator or your server network person, and they can increase it at the site level too. Okay, I would recommend completion tracking. That allows Totara to mark things off as people complete things. And then let's go down here. There are a number of icons. You can also pick your own. I'll go with the key today. We're going to talk about audiences in a little bit. Audiences are groups of learners. I'll do that at the end. And I can enroll all at once a whole group of people if I wanted to. Okay, we could also use groupings, but quite honestly, I like audiences more. I usually leave this alone because it will change everything site-wide. So usually we just leave that here. If you have any custom fields or any tags you want to enter, tags could help with searching. And I'll go to save and return. Okay, so I now have a test course, okay, and that is under my test category. So a course, like I said, is a unit of learning, and it contains topics or sections, and it could include a seminar if it's a hybrid or blended course. And seminar is the very next thing on our list to cover. So let's add a seminar. Okay, so here we'll do it under test category, and I'll create a new course. And this time I'll put test seminar. And instead of e-learning, this one is going to be a seminar. So that's how I would make that different. And then it's going to show up in my catalog that way. I'll go to here. I want that to be topic. And I want just one. Okay. An icon. Okay. And again, I could add an enrolled audience if I want to. So let's go to Save and Display. And here is my course with one topic. If I go to Find Learning, this is just to show you, I now have 2 seminars that I can filter out by, and that's where the test seminar is, okay? So I have one topic and announcements and some blocks around it, okay? I think I'll put this one off to the side. I kind of like putting my blocks off to the side so I have a little more real estate to work on. All right, so let's turn editing on, which again, if you're an instructor or site admin, you would have rights to do. And let's call this sign up. Flow. Okay. And now, okay, I can add an activity or resource, and one of them is called the seminar. And I click add. And this is how you add anything to a course. And I'll say live webinar on instructional design. Okay. And then if there's going to be a third party, like maybe somebody outside of your system that's teaching it, you can put that in, and then they would get alerts and notifications. If there's a certain number of people that it will hold, and then you want these people waitlisted, you can do that. Okay, I will allow cancellation. And I'm not going to allow them to sign up for multiple events. And if they want to declare that they're interested but not sign up right now because maybe the time doesn't work out, I'll let them do that. That would be interesting information for me. And then here, I could say that there's no approval, or that the learner has to accept whatever I type in this box, or that their manager has to approve it. So I'll leave it on no approval. And then if I wanted to, I could have managers that sign up for a certain number of slots. And then I would have this show at the course level of the calendar. I'm not going to restrict it at all. And how will we know when it's complete? And I'm going to say that they have to fully attend. And we'll talk about how we see that in a minute. And so now I'm going to go to Save and Display. Okay. So now the overall settings for this are set, but we don't have a date and a time yet. So let's add a session. And let's say, sure. And then we'll have, well, let's say April. Okay. Not sure that makes a lot of sense. Let's do March 30th because it's going to be on the 30th. So tomorrow. And if I wanted to, I could have a whole bunch of rooms uploaded. I could select any learning assets that I want people to have when they sign up. That can go there too. I can say how many people I'm going to allow. And I will enable a wait list. I do allow cancellations. I could say if there's a minimum number of bookings we need, if there's a cost, any details, and save changes. Okay. Oh, okay. So So let's say 7:15 a.m. Let's see if that'll work. So it saw an error that, I had that we close off registration after it started, so that didn't make any sense. And so it caught me. Okay, once this is set up, when users come in, it'll look like this, except they won't see attendees, they'll see sign up. And they can click on the sign up button and sign up. Okay, and so this acts like a really nice event registration. And then it says your booking has been completed. You should receive an email confirmation. If I am the site admin or the teacher, I can also see the attendees. And so let's look at that. And right now, just the admin, myself, if there's a wait list, cancellations, and then on the day of, once it's started, I can say if they fully or partially attended, or I can make up any scale that I want to, okay? I can also message the users if I want. So that's how a seminar works. Let me know if you have any questions. Next, I'm going to transition into another type of learning we can package, and that would be the program. I probably use programs the most often. It's a group of learning that can be designated or completed in a certain order. So when I want to do a program, what I can do is go to Site Admin. It's tucked away under Courses, Manage Programs. And then I can add a new program if I want to. So then it gives me a wizard with these different tabs of things I need to complete. So I can decide where this program, if I want it under a certain category. So I'll put it under my test category. I'll call it my test program. I can give it a short name. And I can decide if it's available through certain dates or if it's always available. And any summary notes or an end note. I'm pretty happy with all of that. Here I could pick different who's going to be able to see it. And so when we get into audiences on their Find Learning, I can have an audience-based calendar, catalog, where they only see learning that pertains to them. And then I would get to see which audiences would get to see it, okay? So if I wanted members of a selected audience, here are some audiences I have set up before, and there's only one learner. So that this is going to be a choice that they'll be able to see, but nobody else, okay? So I will save these changes. Now I can go to the next tab over Content, and I have some options. I can add a set of courses, I can add competencies, or I can create a course and make it a reoccurring course, which was next on our cheat sheet. And a reoccurring course is a course that reoccurs at a set time frame for an entire group. And it's a feature of programming management. So if every fall I was going to have the bloodborne pathogens in the first week of September and everybody needs to take it, I could do it as a reoccurring course, and I'd only have to set that up once, and then everybody would be re-enrolled every fall. So let's do a set of courses, and I go Add, and it shows me all of the courses that are in here. So I'm going to start with that one. And I can have different sets, so I can have more than one set. I'm going to call this Part 1. And the learner must complete all courses, some courses, or courses are optional, or one course. So I'm saying they have to do it all, so these are grayed out. And the minimum time required, and we'll add that one. And let's say I want to add another set. So I'm going to add another set of courses, and this time I'm going to have that test seminar. Okay, so see how I can say first you have to do this, and this is restricted until, and then part 2 is the seminar. And then I can say then, or and. So I'm going to say then. So do this and then this. Okay, and then the test seminar happens. And it's warning me that, you know, you have this live seminar and there's only one time people can sign up. So just be aware of that. Maybe you would want to have more sessions so people can be more successful at this, is what they're saying that I might want to think about. And then I'll hit Save Changes and save all changes. Now the next one is, who am I going to assign this to? And programs, this might be why I like programs so much, because they're so flexible. So Totara has what is called hierarchies, and I'll show those at the end when I get to audiences. But you can map out your organization. So you could say that maybe there's a northeast division and a southeast division. And you can assign people to each of those divisions. And you can have as many things in your organizational hierarchy as you want, and sub-levels as you want. And people are assigned to those places. Then what that allows you to do is push learning and pull reports by anything that's in there. So if I were to add people from an organization, let's just do that. Then I click here, and I only have one test here, and I'll say headquarters. So now everybody in headquarters, so that's 3 learners, are being assigned this program. Same thing here, I could do positions, and I could add this. And I could say, okay, anybody that has this position also needs to take it. I could also add a specific audience. And so audiences we'll get into in a little bit because they're so awesome. But I could say the forklift people have to take it. And if I want to add my management, add managers to the program. So I'm going to add these managers so it knows who's a manager too. So these are all the learners that are being added to this program. I could also add an individual, so it shows everybody in the system. And I can save changes. And so all these people are going to be added. And it says, okay, just so you know, there are 14 people that this affects. It's just kind of warning me of that. And then if there are any specific messages that I want to send to the whole group, I can say, you have been enrolled, and then it'll put in the program name. I can add anything that I want. If I want their manager, I can say this. I can say team member enroll in program. Let's do this. Let's say in program full name, and then it'll mail merge the name of it in there. And I can say just wanted you to know, and then first name. And there's a list of what these mail merge can be. Has been program full name. So you can write that. And then if there's an exception that needs to be resolved, like let's say a course shows up in 2 times or there's not a session available, it would give that to the person who set it up. If there's any problems the system sees. These are all other notifications that we can set up and we can have pre-made that will be automatically go out. So that's kind of cool. And then we can save the changes and we have this program set up. Okay. And again, let me know if you have any questions about programs. Programs are really powerful. I use them a lot. All right, next, very, very similar to the program are certifications. And certifications differ in that they usually have like time associated with them. So let's say you have a CPR certification, and when somebody finishes it, they have that certification is good for 2 years, and then it expires. Well, the system will track that and know when they're expiring, and it can even re-enroll them maybe a month before it expires so there's no gaps and alert them. So that can be very powerful for certain organizations that need that capability. So again, to do this, you could probably guess this by now, you're going to go to Site Administration, you're going to go to Courses, you're going to go to Manage Certifications, and now, very similar to programs, add a new certification. And you're going to see that this looks very, very similar, and I'll call this Test Certification. There's only some minor differences. Okay, and then I'll skip all of this right now and save changes. The content would be very similar to what we just did in programs. So let's do a set of courses. And let's say that we need to do this one and this one. Let's start with this one. Okay. And then okay, it's telling me sort of, and I'm going to say that they have a minimum at least 1 day they have to use. And then save the changes. That's good enough. So we've got a course in there. We've got assignments. So again, you can do organizations, positions, audiences, management, or individuals. We have notifications again, and a lot of the same ones that you can set up. But here's the tab that's a little different for certifications. When do you want the recertification to begin? So would you use when it expires, or would you go by the completion date plus 2 years? So I'll do that. And then I'm going to say how long it was active for. So 2 years from the completion date of the course. And everybody can go through at their own pace. And then 1 month before, I want them re-enrolled and get alerts that they need to start working on their recertification. And so that's a really powerful tab for making all of that possible and automated. And I really like that one. Okay, now learning plans, that can be confusing to people. A learning plan is something that gets assigned to the individual. But you can have templates that are assigned to the individual, and to make the templates, you go to Site Admin and Learning Plans and Manage Templates. And what you can do for a new template is I can say practice and save changes. And then here are the components. So if I'm going to include courses as an option, competencies as an option, objectives or programs as an option. Now in my workflow, if I didn't want one of these, I can close the I. So let's say I don't want objectives. Now that won't be in this template of when people put a learning plan together. And then I get all these rules. So I'm going to say a manager. So I'm going to say the manager assigns content to their staff's learning plan. The user can request content, but the manager approval is required. So that could be an option. Actually, I think for this one, for the demo, I'll go with basic. So you can even make a custom workflow. So, okay, if I go now, because this is individual, and I go up here to my profile, I will see an area for learning plans because it's associated with the individual, right? And so I can create a new learning plan, and I can choose what template I want to use, and I'll call it practice. Let's say I get a year to do this. And then we create the plan. That's kind of the basics of it. But then I can add courses to it. So let's say we want this course to be added. And then I can add competencies to it. So I'll add this one. And then I could add a program to it if I wanted to. So we'll do that. And we have a test program. Okay. So this is going to be my learning plan that I picked out. Because I'm site admin, I can activate it. But in the basic workflow, I would have had to request approval button here. My manager then would have gotten a notification and an alert on their dashboard, and they would have had to approve it. Then what the manager can see is they can see their team and they can see the plans that they're working on. And at a glance, they can see how far they are, and then they can see what courses, competencies, objectives, programs are in there. They can see the progress. They can set a due date. They can write comments. They can do other types of things as a manager. So if they had finished maybe the CPR at their prior company, we could mark that as done. Or if they had taken it outside the system, we could mark that done too. So learning plans, I think the main thing to remember is that they're very individual. And sometimes people think that you can deploy that to a whole group, but you can't, only the workflow. And if you wanted to deploy a series of learning to a whole group, you probably want to use the program. All right, let's talk about audiences. I've been promising we would do that. So under Site Admin, tucked under Users, under Accounts, are audiences. And audiences can be any group of learners. If we add a new audience, the first thing, I'll put practice audience, and you saw places where we can assign learning to the audience, and that could be at a course, a seminar, a program, a reoccurring course, or certification we can assign to an audience. You only get this one time to decide for your audience if it's going to be a set audience or a dynamic audience. So set means I'm going to cherry pick or upload a CSV of who is in that audience. But a dynamic means that I'm going to set certain rules, and anybody that fits those rules, the system will automatically add to this audience, even if it's at a later date. And so I use the dynamic quite a bit. I think that's really powerful. So now we get to decide what the rules are. And so we could say make a user a member when they meet this certain rule, or remove it if they no longer meet these certain rule sets. And then down here, I can start saying this. So if I wanted everybody, if I had a company, I actually do, that has people all over the country, and if I wanted certain cities in that one, I could say that. You know, I can do it on anything in their profile. I could do it on their job assignments. I could do it in the what areas of the organization. I could do that they've completed other things. If they're already an audience member of something else, if they logged in after a certain date. So you have all these options to make dynamic rules for audiences. Okay, and then I can approve my changes. See how many members. I'm going to guess just me. Yeah, I'm the only one in my company in Port Washington. I can see now I can add courses, programs, or certifications. Let's add the test certification. I might have to save. No, okay. And then sometimes I can say in here for this audience, what programs, courses, and certifications would show up in their Find Learning tab if I wanted to. And then this just means that if I wanted to apply a template to a whole group, I could. But again, it's individual that each learner would have to pick out the content. And then if I want to have certain goals that are added for everybody in the audience, I could do that too. So audiences are very, very powerful for bulk enrolling people in things. And as you saw in the course, seminar, program, reoccurring courses, certification, you can assign audiences. Okay, I'm going to check for questions. I don't think I've seen any. It's been a pretty quiet group, which is fine. A lot of people might be coming and watching it later, and so if you have questions, feel free to send those to me. The last thing I wanted to show is our upcoming webinar series, in case you haven't seen that. If you go to www.eclassforlearning.com and go to webinars, today's was different ways that you can package learning in Totara. But our next one is in April. And by the way, you can sign up if you want to get alerts on these. And that one is going to talk about learner analytic dashboards that you can set up in your LMS. And then we will also be talking about how to set up tracking in Totara on May 3rd. So with that, thank you so much for attending today. I will be sending out the cheat sheet that we looked at before. I'll be sending out the recording for today's webinar. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to send those my way.